Today is October 14th. Today's quote is entitled, "A devotee is not revengeful." Srila Prabhupada writes regarding Parkshit Maharaja being cursed, "The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves." So as you know, the story that Maharaj Parkshit was cursed, but he didn't retaliate. And the principle that you'll see throughout our scripture is the devotee never defends himself, but he always defends others. So if I'm criticized, there's no injunction that I should leave. The injunction is I should just think I'm being humbled, or it's my karma, or I deserve worse. If another devotee is being criticized, the injunction is you stop the offender, or you go away in some way, you don't participate. You defend the devotee, but you don't defend yourself. Even physically, it's said, which is a little difficult to understand because we would need to preserve ourselves to serve Krishna. But it's the general principle that even I wouldn't defend myself physically. So also, we're not meant to defend our false ego. And so therefore, we have this example of Parkshit Maharaj. He had every reason to retaliate. After all, he's the king, and he has the power to retaliate. But it's said the devotee doesn't do that. It's not his nature. It's not the world he lives in. So I put this verse in here because I think it's very important to remind ourselves that we are trying to be devotees, and therefore we're trying to act this way. This is the way, this is the example we have. Now there's another story of a Brahmin from a place called Avanti. And he in his earlier life was very materialistic and very nasty and very miserly. And everybody hated him, including his family. And at one point he lost everything, and everybody said, "You're useless. You were useful for money, but now we want nothing to do with you." And they were really harassing him in major ways, beating him and harming him and just doing all kinds of horrible things to make his life miserable. And what he did was he took this as a sign that he should renounce, and that's what he did. And he began to see all that was going on as Krishna's mercy. And so he was extremely tolerant. He never retaliated because he saw, well, this is what Krishna wants. So why should I retaliate against what Krishna's doing to me? It's all perfect, and it's all needed, and it's all helpful for my detachment, my renunciation. So he accepted all this abusive behavior. Am I saying you should allow people to be abusive? No. If people are destroying you psychologically, physically, no. But this is a special story with a special point, a general point, that he was extremely forbearing, accepting it as Krishna's desire and will. And that's the nature of devotee. They're not retaliatory, if that's a word. They don't retaliate against people who mistreat them, but they forbear it, they tolerate it. So let's read this again, because I just want to go through the list. Devotee of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed, they're never inclined to avenge themselves. That's amazing, even though they're killed. They don't live on that level. It doesn't matter what happens to them. They don't live on that level that they have to get back with someone. And if we can live that way, if we can be proactively forgiving, then we can live very peacefully in the world. People may harm us, criticize us. It won't bother us. We'll always be generous. We'll always be kind. We'll always be loving. That's the way we should be. That's an amazing way to be, and it's an amazing experience to have. So you may think it's difficult, but I would say it's more difficult not to live that way. There's so many things we have to do in Krishna consciousness. They seem so difficult. But actually, looked at in another way, it's much more difficult not to do them. It's much more difficult to be resentful than it is to be forgiving. It may seem the other way, but it's not. A lot of devotees say, I protect myself by being resentful. And I say, you destroy yourself by being resentful. You have it backwards. We're very conditioned, so we get things backwards. So don't think being forbearing and tolerant is detrimental. It's the most uplifting, upgrading way of being you can possibly be. Just don't let anybody torment you or tear you apart and tolerate that. Don't tolerate someone destroying you. But in this case, the Parkshit Maharaj was not destroyed, the Avanti Brahmin was not destroyed. They knew how to deal with it. They took it in a proper way. And they tolerated it for their benefit and for the benefit of everyone else.